Hey YouTube, this is Jubilee J. Today we're going to be making a herbal balm or salve. The difference between the two is just a matter of thickness. The balm being thicker, salve being closer to petroleum jelly like. For the base, we are going to use coconut oil. You can use any of your choice of oils. I prefer tallow, but we don't have any of that, so there's this. And to make sure it's nice and solid, we are using beeswax. You can get this from any of your beekeeper folks in the neighborhood. You can get it for about 10 to 15 bucks a pound. And it goes quite a ways. This right here is the stinging nettle, nice and crispy on top, but down here is still, pretty well alive and well. Don't have to be careful with that. And over here we have our sulfile and our usnea. This right here is for the antibiotic and antifungal properties for you and the balm to help preserve it a little bit longer. This right here is for the skin repair and the hemetic, so blood loss getting stopped. And this right here for the anti-allergen effects and anti-inflammatory properties. Alright folks, to start this off, I'm going to melt down about 4 cups or so of your oil base. Once it's mostly liquefied like this, you're going to start adding your herbs in one at a time. I'm going to start off with usnea.
Go.
Next up is the sulfile. I'm going to add that in right on top of everything. Next up is the stinging nettle. Yeah, it looks like there's more herb than oil, but it'll eventually break down and extract what's needed. Just keep pushing it down and squishing it around. It's mostly in the leaves anyway. Some of the stems do have the nutrients, but it's mostly the leaves we want. Now that everything's been chopped up and squashed down into the hot oil, you want it to simmer on low for about a couple hours, and then from there you're going to want to filter out all the big chunks and then use coffee filter to get all the little ones. Typically one would prefer to use dry herb rather than fresh, because the extra moisture will not allow this to last nearly as long. But even on low temperature, the water will evaporate pretty quickly out of here. And even with what little moisture there is, the antibacterial properties and antifungal will help preserve it, depending on how nasty your fingers are when you dip in there. So wash your hands, folks. It's been a couple hours now. The color has came out of the herbs, so it's going to be as easy to strain out the big chunks. We're going to strain it into the jar. We're going to use a paper towel or coffee filter to remove the smallest chunks, as you can see here in the spoon. Once that's strained back into the pot here, we're going to add our beeswax to make the finished product and pour into the little jars. Here we are with our filtered infused oil. We're going to need to add our beeswax to it now. You're going to want to add that beeswax to a ratio of 5 to 1. You want 5 parts oil to 1 part beeswax. You want to do that after you filter your oil. Just note that you want to add a little extra oil just to account for what will be absorbed into the remnants of the herbs. You're going to want to do this on low heat so you don't destroy what you've just infused into the oil. Alright, we'll see in a bit when this melts down. Alright, it's been a few minutes and the beeswax has all melted. It's time to start pouring it out into your little tins and jars. I like to reuse my jars from my little habits. Well, these make perfect little gifts to pass out to people. I'll see you in a moment when they're all poured out. Alright, the final product is solidified and is ready to be used. It's got a 3 to 6 month shelf life depending on how gnarly your fingers are. If you don't like how it feels, if it feels too greasy or whatever, you can always add more beeswax to it and re-pour it out into the jar to re-solidify.